Hello, friends. Welcome to our today's webinar, which is Best Techniques to Crack an Interview. And I'm your host, Prashant Kumar, and this is my channel Q Analysis. I welcome you in today's webinar. So, here we go. The agenda for today's webinar is something like this: what an interview is looking for. We'll try to figure out what exactly an interviewer has in his mind while he's interviewing you, and then why do you fail in an interview, how to succeed. So what is the recipe of success in interviews, technical interview tips, and last but not the least, I'll give you certain behavioral interview tips. Okay, friends, so here we go, and we are starting with our webinar now. To start with, I have a small clip or slide for you, which is something like a guy entering inside a interview room, and the interviewer is asking him to have a seat, and you can see he has everything dismantled, and he has to showcase his skill in order to have a seat. I guess that is his interview, and as the name itself says, IKEA job interview. So more or less, something like this happens to all of us when we go and appear in an interview. Something on the same lines. We have to showcase our skills, and on the basis of that, you are being judged by your interviewer, and then whether or not how you perform, depending on that, you are being offered the position. Right, friends? So first of all, we'd like to learn about what. There are certain what which we should know before appearing into any kind of interview, and I'll tell you in more detail in my coming slides. What kind of interview is it? Yes, this is very important question which you should ask before appearing in an interview. What kind of interview is it? An interview could be a first round of verification, or it could be a telephonic interview, like you submit your resume or you submit your profile for any of the openings, and then depending upon your application, it is being shortlisted, and then there could be an interview, which could be a short one, 10-15 minutes, or even shorter, depending on the person who is taking it. He might be taking, or she might be taking, the person on the other side who is your interviewer. They're interested to know your skill set and just verify your CV with what you say or the way you speak to them. And depending on that, they'll figure out, okay, whether or not you should be moved forward into the upcoming round or the next round, right? So interview could be the first one, which is initial telephonic or first round of verification. Second, interview could be the face-to-face selection round. It could be on-site or online. For example, you'd be required to go to some office and then meet with some of the person there who will be taking your initial round of interviews. After the telephonic round, they'll have a set round of interview, or they'll ask you to go to certain test or some short discussion rounds. It could happen on their office side, or on the site where on an exact office where you're called for an interview, or even it can happen online. Nowadays it is very popular that people, they ask for a Skype interview or an online interview where you sitting in front of computer. It's like open book kind of thing. You're sitting in front of a computer and the other person is at the other end, and they keep on asking a question and you answer it as per your best knowledge, and depending on your answers, they evaluate you, and then they figure out, okay, we are interested to have this guy or girl in our final round, and they call you for the final set of interview, which is the third one. This final set of interview could be with the tech team or with the HRs or both, with your senior managers, with the person who is hiring authority. It could be with anybody. So that is the final set of interview. In between, there's like if you're applying for a technical role, there could be lot many other things like a different kind of test, online test, Codility is like, I generally ask candidates who are applying into my company, I ask them to go through a Codility test. We have certain set of questions, we give it to them and ask them to solve it in whatever language they prefer. They go ahead and solve, and they have a certain time stamp. Within that time stamp, they have to answer questions and provide the solution along with code and all those stuff. So it could be Codility, or they can ask you to come for a on-site test wherein there are certain computers in classroom. Everybody sit on the computer. All the candidates, they're asked to come and sit together on the same in the same class on different computers, and you have certain set of objectives, certain set of reasoning questions, or maybe certain set of programming codes in front of you which you need to debug, execute, or maybe do some kind of hacking stuff. Depending upon your answer, they judge you, they evaluate you. There could be something like pair programming. They ask two person to get pair, and then both of you are asked to sit together, and you need to do different kind of analysis, integrate your thoughts, and come up with a solution. Or maybe they'll ask you to come with a whiteboard test. Whiteboard test is something like you enter in a room and they give you a whiteboard, a problem statement is given to you, and then you have to go and understand a problem, show your understanding, come up with a solution, design a algo, and show the implementation. So it could be any of these rounds, right? But I'll keep them separate because they are technical rounds and they are more to do with your technical expertise, which I'll be covering. What are the important tips? What are the important steps? Or what care you should take for your technical interview, that I'll cover at the end. So I'll keep it separate. Over here, we are talking about the general interview process, wherein you are sitting face to face, or somehow you're talking directly about your skill set to the interviewer, and the interviewer is then evaluating you on the basis of what you have just spoken to them. Okay, so you have to figure out what kind of interview is it. Once you have figured out, depending on the kind of interview it is, you have to put in your efforts. For example, if it is the first round or telephonic round, it doesn't mean that you have to give your best. You have to do all you need to. You have to understand the fact it's a short span of interview. You have just 10-15 minutes in front of you. It's mostly to do with the verification, and you have to create a very nice first impression. So keeping these two things in mind, you have to answer the question so that the person on the other side of the phone, or who is doing the first round of verification, that person should get a little convinced with what you are saying, and he should forward you for the next round. This is the motto for the this is the motto that you should look for once you have identified what kind of interview it is. If it is first round of verification or telephonic, if it is face-to-face round like on-site or online, it is very important that you should do your preparation. And then when you're sitting, it is mostly more or less like a real-time interview when you're sitting against the interviewer. But then you know that if only you compete in this round, you'll be sent to the final round. So you have to give your best, but at the same time, you don't have to be you don't have to be over explanatory, and you don't have to showcase all your skill set. You have to be a little calm and smart in giving answers. At the same time, you have to make sure that the person who is sitting at the other side, they should be interested in knowing more about you, and they should feel that, okay, this guy seems to be a nice candidate to be taken to the final round. And when you come to the final round and sitting in front of the tech team or HR, it is then when you have to showcase everything what you have done till now, your experience, your skill set, the kind of test you have gone through, your scores, your coding skills, your HR skills, your communication skills, anything what you can do in order to impress the other person, so that you should be selected among those finalists. Trust me, everybody who is sitting over there as a finalist, more or less they have gone through the same kind of process. They are having the same kind of experience, and more or less they are equal in their skill set. It is just the matter of presentation and how they handle the pressure of interview, and how they uh, explain themselves, explain their answers, and how they market themselves in front of the interviewers. It is this quality which gets you selected. Okay, we'll talk more about this in my upcoming slides. What is expected out of you? Yes. So now we have to see, when you know what kind of interview it is, then you have to understand what is expected out of you. What is your interviewer's position? Is he or she a decision maker? If he is initial profile checker, or he is a initial interviewer, or he has the all authorities to give you a final selection decision. So depending on the person who is taking your interview, you have to come up with the kind of answers, and you have to put in the kind of efforts you should put in. Okay, just now we talked about it in our previous slide. What is your interviewer's agenda? For some of them it is just CV verification. For some of them it is more to do with the technical stuff. For some of the interviews it is HR related. So if somebody is looking into a CV verification and you start talking in detail about the technology and HR and so, it will make no sense, right? Or if somebody who is more interested in technical side and you start talking about your salary and your aspirations and all the kind of things, it doesn't make sense. Similarly, if your HR is taking care of, she's talking about the HR and behavioral aspects, and at that point of time we talk about coding languages, programming skills, it makes no sense. So you have to know what is your interviewer's agenda while they are interviewing you. This is very important. What interests your interviewer? For some of the interviewers, technical skills is important. For some of the interviewers, behavioral skills is important. And for some of them, both are important. So you have to understand your interviewer before they understand you. Then only you can answer the questions in a proper way, right? So there are many things which involve uh, this whole interview process, which is involved in this whole interview process. Not only your technical skill, it also involves your behavioral skills. It also involves the way you're presenting yourself, your body language, and the way you are reacting to their questions, and how you're reacting to different kind of situations, maybe real-time situation, and how well you're explaining your experience or your past situation. There's so many things. So what interests your interviewer? You have to figure out what is the kind of interest of your interviewer, and depending on his field of interest, you have to elaborate or give more emphasis on the things which he is more interested or she is more interested in. What is your interviewers looking in you? Many times interviewers, depending upon their position, they might be looking into different kind of things, like how suitable you are for this role, or which position you applied for, whether you are a suitable match for that position or not. What was your last position and how do you fit in the current role? Why to hire you? These are certain questions which interviewer is always looking. They have so many options. Don't forget they have so many options. Market is full of talent, and then for an interviewer or a recruiter, it becomes very hard to judge who is the right candidate. And they can judge it only, they cannot dream, they are not god kind of people, or they're not angels that they can figure out, I know this guy looks so smart or this girl looks so intelligent. No, it doesn't happen. They can judge it only through their selection procedure, which involves around initial discussions, CV verifications, tests, different kind of online or offline interviews, and then final round of interviews. Only through this process they get to know whether you are suitable for a position or not. So what exactly your interviewer is looking into you, looking from you, looking in you, you have to understand and answer accordingly. Then only they will see you as a perfect fit for the role for which you have applied. What can you check with your interviewer? Yes, this is very important question. Most of the time people, they don't ask right kind of questions at right time. So whenever you are given a chance to check with your interviewer, or your interviewer is asking you to, or giving you option to ask questions, don't hesitate. Feel free to share your opinion. Feel free to ask questions, and make sure that you are asking right kind of question at right kind of time. Right time, you should ask right questions. For example, you can ask them, what would be the next step? What is your complete recruitment process? Please give me a little brief about your recruitment process. Okay, when can I expect a result? Something like this. So what are the different kind of questions which you can ask? I'll talk about it in my upcoming slides in more detail. Let's go ahead. This is the third important question. What an interviewer is looking for. Yes, your interviewer, they are given certain kind of targets. They are going through certain kind of thought process. They have something in their mind, and they are sitting there to evaluate you because they are looking for something. Okay. Now, these are few of the points which they might be looking. It can be anything and everything related to the role, but I have listed down a few points just to give an idea. So, for example, reasoning and problem solving ability. They might be thinking about you as a person who is applying. Let's say you're applying for an engineering role, and they want to see, okay, how much reasoning power or how much problem solving ability you have, and they'll give you some small questions or small puzzles. I need to solve it. You have to come up with an approach. You have to come up with the problem solving. You have to show how what is your approach towards solving the problem. Or maybe I don't know approach. Now, what is I don't know approach? They keep on asking questions till the time you get into a zone where you don't know the exact answer. Now, how will you handle such kind of situation? Many people, they just say I don't know. But if you, instead of saying I don't know, you keep on saying I think, I don't have a right solution for this, but still, just with the help of some Googling or online search, taking a few references and going to certain books or resources, I might get a solution to this question. Now, both the persons are saying the same answer, I don't know. But one is saying just I don't know, and the other person is saying I don't know, but I have certain ways to figure out the answer to this question. This is the kind of approach which many of the interviewers, they like in the candidate, right? So out of box thinking, this is the third point. Like many, there could be a simple question or simple problem which has a very genuine or normal answer, but then instead of giving a regular answer, you think out of box and try to come up with a solution which is a nice or new approach. And they want to see how, like, every candidate is coming into a classroom and giving up a solution which is more or less same. But if there's a candidate who is coming with a out of box thought process and trying to give a solution which may not be the best one, but it showcases the candidate's ability to think out of box, it is totally a different kind of a win-win situation for both of them, right? They're looking for somebody with out of box thinking, and this guy came up with, or this girl came up with a kind of solution which is totally different from rest of the candidates. Role fitness. Many a times interviewers, they have this thing in their mind that how well this guy is going to fit in the role. So they have different kind of requirement for the role, which is sometimes listed in the job description, and many times it is not listed. So all those things which are not listed in job description, it is there in their mind while they're interviewing the candidate. And as a candidate, you have to understand it. You have to come up with certain kind of examples. You have to show your skill set. You have to prove it to them that why you are the best candidate for that role, and how you have the edge over other candidates, how you're different from other candidates. Okay, so role fitness is also very important, which interviewers might be looking. Research ability. Now, research ability is something, if you don't know anything, you can go ahead and do certain kind of research, identify the problem, and propose a solution. Right? Many times it happens that you're given a open book challenge, open book question, and you have 2 or 3 hours of time, and then they say, okay, this is something which you don't know. Go ahead and figure out a solution on your own. Identify the problem, do research, do analysis, and come up with a solution and propose it. Tailor-made solutions. There are certain solutions which are already in place, but then you have to customize it. So there is a problem. For that problem, you have three different algos or three different solutions, but none of the solution is perfect for the problem. But if a user is smart enough to figure out how to customize either of the solution, or maybe combining all of them and coming with a fourth solution, which is a perfect tailor-made solution for the problem. Now, this is what they're looking for. This is another tailor-made solution. Deep dive in in-depth knowledge of technology. Now, many of the technical institute or many of the technical organizations, they go for a candidate who has a deep knowledge. Like going through the interview question, many people, many guys and girls, many candidates can go ahead and answer. You go through net and you see lot many websites offering different kind of questions, interview questions. You just learn it, memorize it, and then go for the interview. And if you're asked the same kind of question, you go ahead and answer it. But when somebody, if your interviewer is smart enough and is taking your in-depth knowledge, right, they can ask you to give a practical example, certain situations to explain, or certain real-time examples. Now, that is something which can be answered only by somebody who is having a deep knowledge, or he is having a deep experience with what he is saying or what he is trying to convince to his interviewer. And last but not the least, process technology or business orientation, depending on the kind of role you are applying. If you're applying for a business analyst, or if you're applying for the quality, quality process, or let's say you're applying for a process domain or you want to be a SME, or let's say you're applying for a kind of technical role. So depending upon the role for which you're applying, your process technology or business orientation will be checked. So an interviewer could be looking for one or many or all of them or entire different set of skill sets in you while he's interviewing you. Always keep it in your mind. Why you fail? Now, at this point of time, we know what exactly is expected out of me, what is my interviewer looking, and what kind of things an interviewer has in his mind. So these things are very much clear. After this, we come to the second question, which is why you fail. If you know what they're going to ask, still at times you fail in the interview. And why it happens? Let's see. So here is something which I want to share with you. I have taken it from Glassdoor. According to their survey, on an average, each corporate job attracts 250 applications. And 4 to 6 candidates out of those 250 gets a final interview invitation, and only one of them gets the job. So you can imagine the kind of pressure interviewers they have. 250 applications, out of which they have to scrutinize and then finalize 4 to 6 candidates, call them for the final interview, and then just one. Yes, my friend, just one is being hired. So the job market is getting tougher day by day. People are coming with new skill sets and people are getting smarter, which is good, but at the same time, competition is getting tough and tougher. Now, this is one point which I'd like to make very clear to all of you, and always keep it in your mind. All finalists are alike. Trust me, I have taken hundreds of interviews. I have seen guys coming and going and appearing in different kind of interviews. I have talked to many of my friends, many senior people from the industry, and almost every one of us, we have one thought process. Anybody who is there in the final interview, we know CV wise they are perfect. They have written a very nice cover letter and very nice CV. They have the experience for the role. They have the skill set for the role. They have gone through technical or whatsoever tests. They have cleared the initial round of interviews. And that is the reason they have been called for the final interview. Just imagine, all the finalists, they have similar profile and CV. Everyone has cleared the same kind of test. Everyone cleared same initial rounds of interviews. Finalists are the best, and everyone others are rest. Like just now I said, I gave an example. Out of 254 to 6 are finalized. So this 4 to 6 people are the best, and out of this best, the interview is the process of selecting best of the best. And everybody out of this 250, 4 to 6 candidates have been finalized. The best, that is one, will be selected, and everybody would be rest. Now, this is a harsh truth. Trust me, it is not easy. It is very hard, but if you do things right in a proper way and you keep your mind straight and keep working on the kind of goal you're looking for with right kind of techniques, you can achieve it. It's not impossible. There are jobs, people are getting jobs, and you can also achieve it. It's not a problem. If you can do it on your own, very good. If you can't do it on your own, look for a help. You can talk to your mentors. I have my own mentor services. I can give you the link in my description. Feel free to catch up with me for any kind of mentor services, or you can talk to your friends, your seniors, or somebody whom you trust. Take certain kind of help, develop some techniques, and I'm sure you can crack it. But then you have to do it in the right way, or else you'll be of the rest. If you want to be the best, you have to act like the best. Now let's see first why. Why you get rejected? You get rejected because you were unprepared. This is very common reason for folks getting rejected. Lack of basic public information about the company where you applied. When you're applying in a company or an organization, there's so many things which is already available in market. You can go to their website, you can go to their pages, or maybe their company report profile. There's so many things which are already there in internet or maybe online offline. They're already present. All you need to do is to do a little bit of research. What is company's vision? What is goal? Who is the senior management of company? What they're looking for? What is their target? What is company's turnover? What is the current share price? What are the challenges they are facing? What exactly they are looking for? What is their aim? So this is something which you should always be aware before you go for an interview or you apply for a company apply for a position in a company. This is something we should always be prepared of. Not knowing about your interviewers. Yes, nowadays it is the world of social media, right? Everybody is connected to everyone. There's LinkedIn, Zing, Facebook. There's so many public profiles wherein it's so easy for you to, if you already know, like most of the time when you are invited for an interview, final interview, you are given a list of interviewers names, and then you know the names and you know the company. Depending on that, you can go ahead and figure out, at least you can have a little brief profile or overview of that person, either on the company side or at maybe through your friends or maybe through LinkedIn or any of the sites. So you can have a little idea about, or a brief idea about the person whom you're going to talk. This will help you to understand the person, his qualification, his mindset, his skill set, his growth, how exactly he grew in last few years. So this is very important. Have not used the product or researched the platform before the interview. If you're applying for a technology, if you're applying for a product, if you're applying for a role, like if you're applying for something which involves the company's product or the platform which company is using, you should be aware of everything. You should be aware of different kind of technologies. You should be aware of different kind of platforms in which the company is working. You should be aware of actual product which is being rolled out in the market. What is the plus point? What is the good point? What is the, like me as a tester, wherever I'll apply, first thing which I'll do, I'll just take the app which is in production and go ahead and get to know all its features, test it till that end, till the find I figure out bugs, some critical bugs, if I can find out. If not, then all kind of issues, may it be UI, simple design, functional, what kind of issues I can figure out, I'll just collect it. And when I'm in the interview, I'll point out somewhere or the other, I'll figure out a way to point out all these things. This shows that how interested you are in that company and how much motivated, how much energetic, how enthusiastic you are, and how much effort you're putting in order to get selected in that interview process. So if you don't do it, you'll be considered as unprepared. You have no idea about your future employers' competitors. Now, knowing not only the company but also its competitors is also very important. What are the different kind of competitors, and what is their strategy, and what is the difference in net revenue, and what are the kind of things which is happening in market rivals, all these things. It's always good to know. Have no notion of what the role demands and how you are best fit for the role. Now, in most of the interviews, it is a very common question: why should I hire you? How do you fit in the current role? Now, these are a very common question, and if you don't answer such kind of question to your best so that you're going to satisfy your interviewer, they are not going to hire you. Trust me. If you cannot answer this question, they'll never hire you. So you have to have this question to your best, plus they should be able to relate to it, and they should figure out that yes, you are actually the best candidate to be hired for this situation or this position. Okay, you have all the necessary skill set and experience, yet you couldn't showcase it. That is also a reason because of which you are not getting selected, because you never prepared. You have the skill set, you have the experience, but you're not able to showcase it. It's the era of marketing, self-marketing. Until unless you do self-marketing, nobody is going to hire you. How will they come to know just in 20-30 minutes of interview or in 1 hour of interview that, yeah, you are the right kind of candidate? Everybody's sitting over there as a finalist, they are more or less of the same capability. It's all about the way you present yourself. Your presentation is very important. So even though you have the nice kind of skill set and experience, if you are unable to present yourself at right moment in the right way, you are considered as failure. You are not prepared for that kind of situation, and you will never succeed. You lack the attitude, body language, story, self-marketing. Yes, the not only the technical thing, there are a lot many other behavioral stuff like body languages, storytelling, self-marketing, presenting yourself. Same thing which I mentioned in the previous point. These things are very important and they showcase your attitude, your energy level. These things are something which the other person is looking for, and depending on that they like you or they don't like you, they like to hire you. All these decisions are based upon some other behavioral factors. We'll talk about these behavioral factors in detail in my upcoming slides. You got overconfident. Yes, this is astonishingly common, especially with smart people. uh, Many people, they are quite smart, they are so good, but they do the overthink. Yes, they get overconfident. They are unable to explain it to the people in the right way, in the right tone, or maybe they can say they know more, or they get more aggressive. Some way or the other, they offend the interviewers, and as a matter of fact, they are rejected because they are not considered as right candidate or they are not prepared for the role. Something is there which is not working, and hence they end up losing that opportunity. Now, let's talk about the other why. Interview for wrong job. Yes, this is also very important. I've seen people getting rejected just because they apply for any and every kind of role. No. If you're applying for a wrong kind of job for which you don't have the skill set, but of course you're going to be rejected. Let's see an example. You have great people skill and you are a business savvy, but you don't have technical skills. And you go for a senior technical role. Now, this is something which is not matching to your exact profile and your skill sets. What will happen? You're not going to compete. You're not going to be selected. So make sure you fit for the role you are seeking, and that will make your life very happy. Okay. Sometimes you need to take a leap of faith in order to make a career jump, and then you might not be in the perfect fit for the role, but still you can look for it on the optimistic side. For example, I have led a team of 20 people. Okay, I have not led a team of 20 people, but I have led a team of 10 software engineers and excelled at that role. And when I'm applying for a senior, like when I'm applying from a lead to senior lead or a manager role, I know the number of software engineers which I need to lead. Earlier it was 10, which I could do in a very nice way, and now it is going to be 20. Hopefully I can get it done and I'll apply for that role, and most possibly I can even crack it. So you have to have faith in yourself, and you have to select the right kind of job for which you are applying, and things will go good for you and it will make your life very happy. Okay, friends. Next point. Why do you fail? Interview for the wrong reason. You appear in the interview for the wrong reason. What are these reasons? Let's see. I want to join the company because my friends told me to do so. Yes, your friends are applying. I've seen it happening in the freshers and people with 1 to 3 years of experience. If their friends applying in different company, they also start applying just because their friends are applying or their friends said so, they do so. I want to learn new things at your cost. Yes, during the time of interview, you say it wrong. I want to learn things, and your company is very good at it, so I want to learn it. No, this is completely wrong. Nobody is there to teach you. They are there to make money. They are there to make profit. They want to grow. They want to succeed in market. So instead of saying I want to learn new things at your cost or learn new things from you, no, you have to say I want to be part of organization so that I can grow and help in the company's growth. Sounds better, isn't it? I was looking for a role. You seem to be close to that. Yes. You may or may not be a perfect fit, but never say this that I was looking for a role, but you seem to be close to that, so I applied at your position, applied for this position, I applied at your organization. No, it's a complete no-no. I heard that you are very competitive with your compensation. Money should never come as a factor or a motivation for you to join. It is alternate thing. For example, your skill set, your technology, your SME expertise, or let's say your experience. These are the main things on which you are being judged. And once the judgment is being done, then comes the money, and more or less money can be adjusted depending upon your skill set. I personally feel the current market is very competitive. If you have the right kind of a skill set and experience and you're ready to explore things, you're ready to give your best, you'll always get the best compensation. Okay. Last point, it is also one of the wrong reasons. I have worked in a startup for too long and wish to settle down in my career or still done with my career. It doesn't matter whether you are in a consulting agency or you are with a big bank or a nice company, well settled company, or you're in a startup. It doesn't matter. You don't have to mention such kind of reasons in your interview. You have to come up with something. I see a new growth opportunity and I want to do my best. I see there are so many things which I can learn. At the same time, I can use them for my personal growth and as well as for the growth of the company. That's the reason I want to join you, right? So try to come up with something like this on these lines instead of saying some stupid reasons like what I have mentioned over here. Now we know what is there and what is there in interviewer's mind and what you should understand about your interview process and about your interviewer. We know why do you fail in the interview process, why it is hard for you to get selected and you're not able to compete, or why are you failing. So we know what and we know why. So after knowing our problem statements and the basic reasons, let's see how to succeed. How can you succeed in an interview? Okay, friends. So how long it takes for an interviewer to forget a candidate? I've collected this data from internet, and this is what I could see. Most of the time, for interviewers, somebody who is excellent candidate whom they interviewed, it takes almost 12 days. And somebody who was disastrous, he takes around 10 to 11 days. And all others below average, or with some issues, they're more or less gone in some time. So you have to be not specifically disastrous, but yeah, you have to be excellent when you give your best, because number of positions are very limited, competition is very high, so you always have to give your best and you should be the excellent candidate. Then only you are going to be the selected one. And whosoever is the excellent candidate, he is always there in the interviewer's mind, at least for 12 days. This has been proven scientifically. Now, I have a model which I call as W5 model, which is known as minimum set of preparation. Now, this is the minimum preparation which you should do before any kind of interview, which is composite of 5 W's. First is who is the interviewer who is taking an interview, who knows them, if you know somebody who knows them, or if somehow you can get to know them. Who is the final decision maker, and who knows them. So this is the who part. Then what is the job role, what do you know about it, and what can you do to position yourself in your USP. When I say USP, unique selling proposition, self-marketing things. So this is very important. After knowing who is the interviewer and how can you get in touch with them, or how can you get to know in details about them, then what is the job role, how are you exact fit for it, what is your uniqueness, what is your USP for the role. Then you have to know when is the interview and when they are looking to fill the role. Sometimes it happens that your interview is now and they want to fill the role on an immediate basis. Sometimes it happens they have a long duration between the interview process and the time when they want to fill this, especially like when I was in US, it used to happen in 7 days. They interview and within 7 days they want you, 15 days they want you to join. It was pretty easy, and you can give a notice of 2 week or 1 week and you can join other company within 7 to 15 days. It was pretty easy over there. Same in London. Even in London, things used to happen max 1 month. But then in places like Switzerland and in Germany, where I have been working currently, most recently, so over here you have a job span or a notice period of 3 months. Same in India, you have a notice period of 3 months. So, or sometime even after notice, there is a break and you are asked to join after 4 months or so. So interview might be very near and it takes near about 3 to 4 months for you to join. So you have to be aware of these timelines. It helps you to decide what kind of interviews you have to do and what order you have to follow. Where is where is very important. Where is this position located? Where will you be interviewed? And where should you be 60 minutes prior? Now, when I say this, it talks about the kind of job location. Many people, they have job location constraints. Many people, they don't have. So you have to keep it in your mind. Where is the interview going to be? Is it online, offline, on-site, or through Skype, or you have to go travel? And then where you should be 60 minutes prior. 60 minutes before the interview, you have to prepare about everything, about your documents, about your dress, about your body language, practicing answers, and so many things. And then last is why. Why is the position open? Is it a new position or a replacement? Why are you the right candidate? This why thing is also very important for you to understand. If it is a new position, then it might not be having anybody previously in that role. So they are setting a new kind of expectation with kind of role expectations and set of responsibilities, which more or less they'll be judging it as a fresh candidate from fresh. But when there is a replacement position, they have a hard set of expectation. Either something happened wrong because of which the guy was fired, or something happened because of which the guy left the job and then they want to hire somebody new. Now, in this case, if it is a replacement position, they'll be little strict and they'll have previous data about the role. They know what are the exact responsibilities. They have a mindset about the kind of salary or remuneration, about the team and challenges. Everything is known to them, and for you, it is not known. So when it is a new position, it is altogether different kind of interview, and when it is a replacement interview, it is a total different kind of interview. You have to keep it in your mind. And then again, you have to figure out, you have to talk about your USP. Why are you the right candidate for the job? Okay, friends, so these are the five W's which you should always keep in your mind as a minimum set of preparation before appearing in any kind of interview. Now let's talk about technique. Coming up to the main techniques which will help you to crack interviews, may it be technical interviews, may it be behavioral interviews. Now we have arrived to the main part of our presentation of our webinar, wherein I'll be discussing about different kind of techniques. So here is the first technique, which is known as placing. How to pitch your personality into the mind of the interviewer. This technique is known as placing. Okay, sounds pretty theoretical, right? I understand. Let me give a brief example, and that will explain this concept very well to you. What do you see over here? Lots and lots of cars on road. We have so many cars on road, and there is a Ferrari. A red Ferrari on road with so many cars, right? So just imagine a situation, you're driving on road or you're walking on road, and then you see there's so many cars in traffic and there's a red Ferrari coming with a high speed and just crossing. What will come into your mind? First thing, posh, luxurious, costly, high profile guy, rich guy, speed, awesome car, different from the crowd, right? This is what is placement. You need to stand out of the crowd of candidates who are applying for the job, for the same job as you. I hope you got the point, right? It is all about placement. You have to place yourself in a different way. Just like this Ferrari, even if you have so many cars on road, it is the only one car which attracts you the most, and you feel attracted towards it, and you have a kind of thought process, you have a kind of notion towards that car, because it has placed itself in your mind. Same way, being a candidate, just like any other candidate who is applying for the same kind of role, you have to place yourself. So always think about placing yourself, your placement, how to be different, how to be unique. Everybody is applying for the same kind of role, but there's so many things involved. May it be CV, may it be resume, may it be your research, may it be your pre-interview, may it be an online interview, or may it be your final interview. At all the places, you have to work on this technique. If you want to know details about what are the different kind of skills which you need to do as a part of your placement, please go ahead and check out my other videos. I have posted different kind of mentorship videos, interview videos, and how to get right kind of job, salary. I posted different kind of videos as well in past. You can find the links in description or in my channel. Please feel free to watch it. You'll get to know more detail about it, how you can place yourself. Second, the second technique is impression. Yes. First impression is the last impression. We always hear that. And that is so very true. I personally feel that is so very true in terms of getting selected in your job. From the time you enter in the office, in the lobby where you have this interview, your final interviews, and till the time you're getting selected, your first impression is the last impression. 63%, 63% of the interviewers know within first 90 seconds of an interview whether they will hire someone or not. You knew that? Isn't it interesting? Yes. I'm talking about most of the finalists when they go for the interview, and as soon as they enter inside the room and they start talking, now the other person who is sitting next side of the table, who is having your job profile, your test scores, your skill set, your experience, and all your previous evaluations conducted by other recruiters or interviewers. Now he has all the skill set and information about you in advance. So let's say in most of them, almost 63% studies show 63% of them, they get to know about your interview process. During your interview process, they get to know whether they're liking you, they want to hire you or not. Okay? Mirroring. People like other people who are like themselves. Yes, if someone is hardworking, they like the other person who is also hardworking. If someone is smart working, they need somebody who is like a smart worker. Somebody is technical, they like other person also a technical guy. If somebody is business savvy, business oriented, they like somebody who also in the business domain. Somebody is uh, SMEs on a matter. They want them to have on the same lines. So people like to mirror, and they like the candidates who are more like themselves. Uh, I have a research study which I have taken from online while googling out. I figured out the selection rate versus likability ratio. So 67% times it was seen that most of the candidates who are being selected, they are liked. They are likable candidates. So who was selected? It was like when that guy or girl was liked by the interviewer. 19% of the time he or she was the average candidate, and 14% time it was somebody else. But more or less, it has been proven that if your interviewer is liking you, they might be recruiting you or selecting you as well. So it depends on mirroring factor. Reality distortion field, the Benjamin Franklin effect. Yes, this is a very interesting concept. I'll tell you a story about it. Benjamin Franklin, he was one of the founding fathers of USA, as most of you know. He had one of the legislator competitors who was not very friendly to him. One day, Benjamin Franklin got to know that the other legislator, his rival legislator, he has a book. He had a book which is very rare one. So he sent out a note to that legislator seeking that book. He got that book, and after 1 week, he returned that book with a note saying thanks and a personal note for the book owner saying it was very nice and it was so pleasant to see this rare book coming from you. Thank you, and all those stuff, all those good words. Because of this, the rival legislator who never used to talk or who always used to oppose Benjamin Franklin became a very good friend. And he always supported throughout his life Benjamin Franklin. This is known as Ben Franklin effect, the reality distortion field. Now, I'll explain it in detail to you. Showing a great interest in a person or his job or company makes the interviewer feel that you have a real interest in all the pain points they are facing and might be a good candidate to come and fix them. Okay, friends? For example, if you're talking to your interviewer or your future boss and you ask them, what are the specific challenges you are facing in your department? What are your expectations from the person you're going to hire? So now this gives him a feeling that you are able to understand his pain points and you want to find out a solution, or you're looking for something which is you're doing to help him. Or with respect to job or project, you can ask, how do you see the role of product or service will evolve in future? What kind of a specific project, task assignments are you planning for the new person? So it shows your interest, it shows your keenness, it shows your kind of excitement or your high level of interest in the job or product. Similarly, when you're talking about the company or department, you can ask about new product, services, features, future outlook, about senior management, and this way they can correlate with you. And they feel like this guy is having a real interest in all the pain points they're facing, and they think you might be a good candidate to come and fix them. Right? So this is example of Benjamin Franklin effect. Feel free to use it. This might help you as well. The other technique is the storyteller technique. Portraying something that it has more value than actually it does. This is known as the art of storytelling. Now, let's talk in detail about the storytelling technique. The big picture. The first thing about the storytelling is the big picture. Always show the big picture. Where and what was the problem? How big and important was it? And then narrow it down. Narrow it down to how you identify the problem and how you fix the problem. And then come up with a conclusion. What was the result of your fix? Always throw some facts here. It will make it more realistic and it will help the other person to grasp the thing in better ways. And finally, come up with a sub story. For every main story, you always should have one or two sub stories to support your main story. If your interviewer is asking any kind of question, you should be able to answer it with your sub stories. Let me give an example about storytelling technique. So, for example, if somebody asks me, I'm a software tester, and if somebody asks me, tell me, tell me an incident wherein you faced a kind of challenge and how exactly you handled it in your last organization where you're working. What was the biggest challenge you faced and how exactly you handled it? So I'll say in my last organization, we used to have a performance issue. Like time to time, the system, we had our own performance, we had our own software IT division, and all the hardware and software were owned by the bank itself. So because of that, time to time the performance check was to be done, and if not done in a proper way, there could be millions and millions of dollars could be lost. So me and my team, what we did, we identified the problem by cutting down the whole IT system which was being used by our project. We divided into several different small components, like 8 different components. And then we started testing each one of them independently. And then after integrating. So when we started the performance testing for databases, for the networks, and for the legacy systems, maybe for the front end performance, for the back end performance. So all of this we did for the APIs. Everything was performance tested, and we identified where exactly we have the problem. Depending on that, along with the help of developers, we tried to do some performance tunings, and then I could list out some performance tuning techniques which we performed along with my development team. Post to that, we observed that after the integration was being done, every fortnight we used to miss out 1.5 million as a as a result of low performance of our system. But then once this performance fix was done, near about 3.5 million transactions were processed in a lesser time than what exactly used to take for 3 million transactions prior to this performance fix. And For those zero point 0.5 million transactions on an average per fortnight, we could see a revenue growth of 1.5 million. More trades were being booked. And this helped a lot in boosting the trading system, boosting the revenue of our organization, just by concealing all the performance issues, taking out the bottlenecks, and doing some performance tuning. So talk about all these things, the big picture, narrow it down to the problem, how you identified it, how you fixed it, and then the conclusion. And then they may ask, okay, tell me certain kind of techniques you said you used with your development team. What were those kind of techniques? Now come up with a different sub story. In this case, I can come up with something like, fine, we had a set of performance script, some Java scripts, and those Java scripts used to run on the server side to figure out the total. They used to take the timestamp, and that timestamp was being processed, and we used to create a graph and check what exactly is the pattern in which graph is growing or declining. First, second, we had a separate filter systems. This filter system was created as a part of performance testing, that any transaction which is taking more than, let's say, zero point 0.5 second, which is taking more than 500 milliseconds or 1000 milliseconds, any transaction which is taking more than 500 millisecond or 1000 millisecond, that transaction will be recorded as red. And then we'll do a complete analysis on that transaction right away from the front end till back end, what exactly happened. Third, we used to create in a report. This report was an automated report for all failure transactions which used to happen over a fortnight. Fourth, we had several tools like JMeter and Load Runner and some JavaScript for API testing. We wrote all these scripts for API testing, for load testing, spike testing, and performance testing, so with dummy data, so as to ensure what exactly is happening, and if the expected value or expected performance and the actual performance, they are in sync. So these are the different kind of approaches we used, and then we collected data from all these four approaches, combined them together, come up with a kind of a report. And this is how we identified the problem, and then we knew which are the areas we have to target in order to find a solution and how to improve on that. And once we have an improved solution, again we performed the whole set of things to see how exactly the performance has changed from previous versus present environment. So doing this, we could figure out what was the difference. And then by considering each transaction value and taking average of it, we got to know that per transaction per second, how much revenue was lost, per transaction per second, how much revenue was gained. And this difference was also published. And this is what we used for our calculations. So now you know, right, how to use your storytelling techniques with the big picture, narrow down conclusion, and some story. Just imagine there are 20 guys sitting. One by one, 20 guys would be coming inside the room and everybody is saying the same thing. Why should I? They are going to ask more or less the same question to everyone. Interviewers are going to ask more or less same question to everyone. And if everybody is answering in the same boring way, I do performance testing, I do automation testing, I do WebDriver testing, I work on the framework. This is what I have done, and I think I'm the best candidate to be hired for this position. Why would somebody hire you? Just imagine if somebody is saying I do performance testing and I have saved this many dollars for my company, and I think I can do, given a chance, I can do it again in a very nice performance testing approach, and in the performance testing framework, I can do this, so that my company could be benefited. I believe I am a right candidate for this job. Just imagine that kind of answer and the kind of answer which I have given you just a few seconds back. Which one is better? So folks sitting over there, they're looking for data, they're looking for experience, they're looking for skill set. At the same time, they want it in an interesting manner. They should like you. And in order to like you, they should like your story. They should like your presentation. They should like the way you're explaining things. So storytelling is a very important technique. Feel free to let me know if you need more details on storytelling. I may come up with a kind of separate set of webinar for the same techniques. May it be business related interview, or may it be your presentation skills, or may it be any technical interview. Storytelling is a very important part of your self-marketing or presentation skills. So if you need any help or webinar, just let me know in the comment sections, and I'll surely come up with a presentation or webinar more on those lines in a separate session. Feel free to subscribe my channel. All those who haven't subscribed it, please feel free to subscribe. I believe this kind of webinars do add value to you, and feel free to share it with your friends. Moving on to the next slide. In a typical job interview process, we have these things. 80% of the interview, 80% of the application, they are rejected in the first phase. So the CV and cover letter and initial call, 80% of them, they are rejected. 20% will proceed to the next phase. Out of which 15% are rejected in the second phase, where you have around one-on-one interview or online interview, off-site interview. 5% will be selected as a finalist, and out of those 5%, only 1% will be able to secure the job. I already showed you in the previous example, right? That if somebody is sitting in the finalist panel, if somebody is sitting as a finalist for an interview, means more or less everybody sitting over there, they have the same kind of skill set. Now it is all about how well you're going to perform in your interview. Depending on that, you will be selected. Okay, friends, so please feel free to use these techniques in your interview, and it will surely help you a lot. You can surely see the difference when you apply these techniques to your interview process, and you can see the difference. Okay, now we have certain technical interview tips and certain behavioral tips as promised. So let's talk about few technical interview tips. First, onion approach. Yeah, I call it as onion approach. Like during a technical interview, don't answer a question randomly. Instead, reveal your knowledge layer by layer. If somebody talks to you about automation and you start talking about automation, then functions, and then framework, and you talk about everything and anything and everything. No, please don't do that. Don't do that. It's a complete no-no. Reveal your information layer by layer. So it becomes easier for other person to understand, and they get into a position that yes, the guy seems to be knowledgeable and he's sharing his knowledge in a proper way. Focus on these 4 areas while answering: performance, alternate solution, time to solve, and algo design. Whenever you have a technical interview and you are given certain kind of test or programming or coding test or some kind of whiteboard test, not only focus on the solution, you have to focus on the performance. Performance-wise, how it is. No cyclic redundancies, cyclomatic complexity should be low, all these things. What could be the alternate solution? What is the total time you have taken to solve the problem? And then come up with your algo first. You should have an algo, and then you should show the implementation with proper performance, solution, and time to solve. Listen, repeat, observe, and adjust. Yes, this is very important. Whenever your interviewer is asking you any question, listen to it very properly. Don't be in a hurry, don't be in a rush, listen to it, and then repeat it just to be double sure that you have listened it correctly. It gives them the concept that, okay, he is listening. Everybody likes to be listened. Okay, so when they are saying something, you're listening, repeat it, maybe in short. It gives them a feeling that, okay, you're listening to it. Then observe what exactly you have heard and the kind of thought you have. Discuss it. You can discuss the approach, adjust it according to their input, or whatever is their, okay, maybe whatever they are saying, depending on that, you'll get to know of their body language or their gestures or the kind of comment they're making. You'll get to know, okay, you're going on the right path or the other one. Just adjust your answer. So you can do that. Know how to defend. Yes, this is a very important point. In the heat of defense, when you're having a technical discussions, in the heat of defense, arrogance and overconfidence, you can push past your limits, and often you end up offending the interviewer. Guys, just understand this fact. You are at the other side of the table, and he or she is sitting at the other side of the table. They are the interviewer. They know their things, right? And you are here for the job. So you, in the heat of defense, arrogance, overall confidence, never ever offend the interviewer. You are looking for a job and they have the decision making authority, so never ever offend. Be calm, cool, and try to give a right kind of answer. If you follow the approach, listen, repeat, observe, and adjust, I guess such kind of thing will never happen. And then know what you want to achieve and when to stop. Solving a complex problem has its own merits. Those who succeed at this are the ones who know what to achieve and when to stop. There could be a solution, there could be a problem with lot many solutions, and if you get involved in it, if you get so involved in it, in a complex problem, and you start giving so many ideas and putting yourself and giving all your energy, it's not making any sense. You have to come up with something which should be good with respect of performance, alternate solution, time to solve. Timing should be less and nice algo design and should explain it well. And then you should know when to stop. What exactly is expected out of you, I have already explained in my previous slides. They want to see an approach. They are not looking for the exact answer. So you should know what is to be achieved and when you have to stop. Always think on those lines. Now, moving on to the tech interview tips. This is very important tip which I have elaborated in detail. Code quality is equally important. Yes, technical things, discussions, toppings, algo designs. Okay, everything is fine. Everything is important, but your code quality is equally important. Use standard naming conventions. If possible, stick to clean code principles, coding styles, formatting, readability, etc. Always keep it simple and clean. Make sure there is no cyclic dependency among the classes. When solving the algo, always focus much more on the simplicity than and the performance of your solution. I already said performance is very important and keep it simple. At all costs, avoid any complex or fancy solution. Don't try to act over smart and give a very fancy or complex. Keep things simple. Until unless you ask for a complex solution, don't try to give it. Because if you're trying to make it very complex, it may happen that you end up into something that you don't even know, and then you are stuck in that kind of situation. Don't go for that. Always test your solution thoroughly. Yes, it's not about only proposing a solution and executing it. Before proposing and execution, there comes a process which is known as testing. Please go for testing your solution as well. Most important to interview, what is wrong and missing in the code. Once you know this, then think about solution, discuss with the interviewer, and finally fix it. So, friends, whenever you have the code, think about it, analyze it, have a proper algo, keep it clean, follow the principles, use standard naming conventions, and then check for the performance. Avoid any kind of complex and fancy solutions. Test it thoroughly and then present it. Okay? So this was my tip for your technical interviews. Let's move on to the behavioral interview tips. Always play for the team. Okay, may it be a software engineer or a manager or a lead or business analyst, always play for a team. Unless you are a freelancer, always consider a team. So when you talk in terms of team, the other person gets a feeling that, okay, he's a nice team player. Highlight your accomplishments for job and from job and personal life, not just description, but also back it up with your data. So you should talk about the kind of certification, the kind of challenges you have faced, or if you're running any kind of channel, or you're running any kind of blog, or if you're doing some kind of conferences, meetups, just mention it, your accomplishments. Display confidence about what you are and what you bring to the table. That is very important. Research about company, position, and interviewer, because if you don't do, your interviewer most likely will do it. So please research about the company. Set your personal goal in line with the future employees. Whatever your future company is doing and whatever their goals or vision it is, try to set your personal goal on the same lines. Ask questions and follow up properly. Yes, that is very important, to ask right kind of question and follow up properly. Polite and persistent follow up post interview wins the game when all other things are equal. If everything is same and you send out a polite and persistent follow up request, follow up post the interview, it might help you in getting the job. This is very, very important, friends. Now here I have an example for you, which is known as Fatty Cisco incident. Just have a view. It was regarding a lady. This incident happened in 2009 with a lady, Miss Connor. She went for an interview. She cleared the interview at Cisco and came out and tweeted Cisco just offered me a job. Now I have to weigh the utility of a fatty paycheck against the daily commute to San Jose and hating the work. She posted it, and 18 hours after the post, there was a reply from the head of HR, who is hiring manager. I'm sure they would love to know what you will hate the work, that you will hate the work. We here at Cisco are worse in the way. And she was declined the offer. So now you know, right? Sorry. So now you know what is my next point. Behavioral tips. And in this behavioral tips, we talk about the impact of social media. Social media is becoming a big player in recruitment process. 63% of the hiring managers, they go and research the candidate before making final recruitment offer. Improper kind of photos, content, posts, discriminatory comments, lies about your qualification, negative talk about previous employers may lead into any kind of refusal which you may have. Platform that you participate in just as professionally as you treat your CV. What you say to your interview, your CV, your social media profile should reflect the same. Social media engagement pattern shows your interest level to your work and your employer. So, social media is very important. Please keep it updated and don't mess with it. With this, we come to the end of our presentation. Friends, this is me, Prashant Kumar, QA Evangelist. As most of you know, I'm a computer engineer and PG from Harvard University and ICMS University, having 13 years of experience. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel or get in touch via LinkedIn and we can discuss more about it. Thank you. Thanks for going to this webinar. See you in my next webinar. Thank you. See ya. Bye-bye.